The ER never really goes quiet. Even at 3 a.m., there's always someone moaning, monitors beeping, buzzers calling, or fluorescent lights humming like gnats in your brain. Dr. Maya Patel had just finished her third shift at St. Julian's and was already beginning to learn what she called ER time, where hours warp and your brain forgets the sun exists. Her attending, Dr. Carol Singh, was barely awake enough to grunt. They just finished a code blue that went nowhere, and Carol had leaned back in a rolling chair with a half-empty Red Bull balanced on her thigh. "You did good," she muttered, eyes still closed. Maya didn't respond. She just nodded and started charting. Then the trauma alarm chimed. Priority 2. Incoming mail. Multiple lacerations. The EMT report was vague. Man found unresponsive behind a gas station on 23rd Street. No ID. No wallet. Deep slash wounds on his chest and arms. Old bruises. Possibly homeless. "Roll him into Bay 9, Singh said, already slipping on gloves. "Let's keep this fast." Maya was the first to step in. The man lay motionless on the stretcher. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Gaunt. Skin sallow and dry. He was shirtless, and deep gashes striped his torso, some so clean they looked surgical. But what struck her first were his eyes. Open, unblinking, watching her. "Is he conscious?" Maya asked. The EMT shook his head. "Nope. Flat vitals until 5 minutes ago. Then he just opened his eyes." Carol was beside her now, snapping orders. "Start fluids, get vitals. Where's that BP cuff?" Maya moved to his side, and then he grabbed her wrist. Hard. His skin was freezing cold. Not clammy, cold. Like meat kept too long in a walk-in. She gasped and pulled back. The man didn't move. His eyes stayed on hers. His lips twitched, like trying to speak. Then he convulsed once and flatlined. Maya fumbled for the paddles. Carol stepped in, calm but fast. Charging to 200. 1 jolt. 2. Nothing. "Time of death, 3:42 a.m., Singh said. Maya stood there breathless. The man's eyes were still open, still watching her. They wheeled him away. David, the night shift orderly, handled the body with practiced ease. "Another John Doe," he mumbled, zipping up the black bag. "No ID?" Maya asked. David shook his head. "No ID. No name. No nothing." She stared at the gurney as it rolled out of Bay 9. She didn't sleep that morning. The next night, Maya arrived early. Same faces, same machines, same caffeine. But as she walked past Bay 9 on her way to the break room, she froze. The man was back. Same gurney, same striped wounds, same empty eyes, wide open, watching her. She blinked, then checked the patient list on the wall-mounted tablet. Bed 9 was listed as unassigned. She walked in, and the bed was empty, perfectly made. No patient, no blood, nothing. She said nothing to Carol, didn't want to be the new intern who cracked in her first week. But when she went to the break room, David was there microwaving something that smelled like beans in despair. "Hey," she said. "Hey, you remember the John Doe from last night?" David gave a slow nod. "The guy with the lacerations?" "Yeah, dead as dead gets." "Was he still in the morgue?" David blinked. "That's the weird part. The body's missing." "What?" "Went to move it for tagging this morning, and the fridge bay was empty. No checkout record, no log." She stared at him. "Yeah," David said. "Fun stuff." She didn't sleep after that shift either. The third night, she didn't wait for him. She checked Bay 9 first. It was empty when she came in. Then around 2:40 a.m., she went to change the wound dressings in room 13. When she came back, Bay 9 was occupied. She approached the room slowly. The curtain was half drawn, monitors silent, and there he was. Same man, same wounds. Only this time, he was smiling, just barely, like he knew she'd come back. She stepped in, alone. He turned his head toward her, the movement rigid and unnatural. Then he spoke. One word. "Maya." Her legs nearly gave out. "How do you know my name?" His eyes narrowed. "Tell them I didn't fall." "What?" The lights overhead flickered. He shivered and blood began to seep from the wounds again. Fresh. She stepped back. Monitors started to beep, though none were connected to him. The crash cart alarm began to shriek down the hall. When she turned around to call for help, the bed was empty again. She told Carol this time, "I keep seeing the same man, over and over." Carol was quiet for a long time. "What does he look like?" Maya described him, the scars, the stare, the eyes. Carol said nothing, just nodded. "You need to look into Incident 41J. Ask records." "Is that a file?" "Not anymore, but some of us remember." Later that night, she found an old nurse in the break room. White hair, name tag read Martha. "You were here during the early 2000s? Still here, aren't I? Do you remember Incident 41J? Martha's smile dropped. Her voice got quiet. "That was the one with the cover-up. Patient jumped out the 5th floor window." Maya blinked. "Jumped? They said he jumped. But those wounds..." She trailed off, then looked up at Maya, dead serious. "Whatever you're seeing, stop looking." She didn't sleep the next morning. Instead, she drove straight from her shift to the library on the 3rd floor, the one nurses joked about like it was a museum. No one went up there unless they had to, but she wasn't looking for journal access. She was looking for ghosts. The hospital's digital system wouldn't show anything older than 2010 without admin access. But the archives still had paper logs, thick leather binders, cross-referenced handwritten notes. It took 2 hours to find the right one. Incident 41. J. Patient death, unexplained trauma. Date, July 18th, 2003. Name, unknown. Room, ER Bay 9. Time of admission, 2:36 a.m. She ran her finger over the page. The summary was brief. Male, approximately 40s, severe self-inflicted trauma, admitted with defensive wounds, large lacerations across chest and arms, abdominal tearing consistent with non-accidental injury. No ID, no name, no fingerprints on file. Flatline 3:42 a.m. Body released to internal holding. Jumped or was pushed from ER roof walkway later that morning. Time of death repeated. Details removed by admin request. Maya's stomach flipped, flatlined at 3:42 a.m. Same time as when she lost him on night 1. She turned the page. It was blank, torn out. That night she returned to work before her shift started. She told Carol nothing. When Bay 9 was empty, she walked in and closed the curtain. The room smelled like antiseptic and static, like metal left in the sun. She sat on the stool beside the bed and waited. At 2:54 a.m., the room temperature dropped. Not a breeze, not an HVAC click, just a sudden dry cold that tasted like dust and rust. She stood up. The monitor blinked on. No power cable attached. Blood pressure, 60/40. Pulse, 32. Temp, 88.1. The bed was still empty, but the vitals kept scrolling. Then the lights flickered once, and he was there. Same man, same wounds, but this time the gashes were bleeding actively, like they'd just been made. He looked worse. Eyes sunken, skin torn and dry, like paper soaked and dried too many times. Maya stepped forward, his mouth opened, cracked blood at the corners. "Maya," he whispered. She gritted her teeth. "Tell me who you are." The man coughed once, then he said, "You were meant to help me. I wasn't here. You are now." He raised one trembling hand, pointed. "To the window." She turned. The window to the ambulance bay, normally frosted with privacy tint, was now perfectly clear. On the other side was a mirror version of the ER. Same layout, same rooms. But the lighting was red. The beds were empty, except for Bay 9. Inside it, she saw herself, standing beside the man, holding his hand, as he died. She turned back. The real bed was empty again. Just a faint blood stain left behind, already drying. She staggered out of the room and nearly ran into David. "You okay?" he asked. "Bay 9, she said. "You didn't see anyone?" "Nope. No gurney roll-in? No calls, no admits since midnight." He looked at her carefully. "You look pale, like drained." She didn't answer. Later that morning, she found Carol in the break room and slammed the binder onto the table. "You knew?" Carol looked at it without surprise. "That patient, Incident 41J. He keeps coming back. Carol sighed. He was a Jane Doe at first. No ID. Came in with wounds that made no sense. Said he was attacked, but the report said there was no attacker. Why was the file redacted? Carol hesitated. He said something before he died, just 2 words, to one of the new residents. What did he say? You watched. Maya's skin crawled. And? The resident took a leave after that, quit medicine. Why? Because the next 3 nights, the man kept showing up. Maya went home. She pulled up her old externship records, rotations, intern shifts, transfers. She needed to prove she wasn't at St. Julian's in 2003. Except, there was one record, one night, a volunteer program she joined as a pre-med student, unpaid, not credited. She barely remembered it. July 18th, 2003, night shadowing in the ER at St. Julian's, assigned to a float nurse named Carol Singh. She stared at the screen for a long time. The memory hit like ice water. She had seen the man. She'd passed by Bay 9 on the way to the vending machine. His eyes had locked on hers. He was holding his stomach, whispering something. She didn't stop, didn't think anything of it. She walked past, and minutes later the code was called. The hospital had told her it wasn't her fault, that she wasn't responsible, that he was already beyond saving, but that wasn't what she remembered now. She remembered the look on his face when she walked away, the disappointment, the betrayal. At 3:42 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. The voice on the other end was familiar, her own, whispering, "You're not supposed to leave yet." Click. Maya didn't go home after that shift. She didn't sleep, didn't eat. She sat in her car, parked in the shadow of the hospital's loading dock, watching the emergency entrance like it might cough up a different truth if she stared long enough. At 11 a.m., she went back inside. She wasn't scheduled, but no one stopped her. The ER was bright again, daylight streaming through smudged windows, nurses moving quickly but calmly. No trauma yet. A lull. She went to the nurse's station and pulled up the patient tracking board. Bay 9, unassigned, of course, but the notes field, usually blank, had a single line typed in all caps. Someone has to stay. She blinked, refreshed the screen. The note was gone. David passed behind her, sipping from a soda can. You all right? He asked. She turned, startled. You don't see him, do you? He looked at her for a long second. No, he said softly, but I hear the alarms when he comes, even if no one's in the bed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something folded. A photo, worn, creased. It showed the ER in the early 2000s. In the background, Bay 9, and in the foreground, blurry but there, her, Maya, 18 years old, holding a clipboard, standing in the hallway, staring into the camera. I found it in the old training files, David said. No name on it, just the date. July 18th, 2003. At 2:30 a.m. that night, she returned to Bay 9. No one had been in the bed all shift. She sat on the stool again, hands in her lap, no curtain. The hallway buzzed behind her, lights flickering like a heart about to give out. Then came the cold. It rolled down her spine like fingers. She turned slowly. He was there, in the bed, bleeding, worse than ever. His chest looked half open, ribs visible through torn flesh. One eye swollen shut, the other locked on hers. You came back, he said. I remember now, she whispered. He coughed. It sounded wet. Wrong. Why didn't you help me? I didn't think it was real. You thought I was someone else's job. I was just a student. No one else saw me but you. He sat up. The bed didn't creak. The monitor didn't beep. Nothing moved except him. I waited, he said. You died before they could save you. You were there, he repeated. You're dead. He tilted his head. Then why are you still here? Suddenly, she was standing in the hallway. Except it wasn't now. It was then. The lights were brighter, the walls freshly painted. A nurse walked by with a paper chart. The soda machine still had glass bottles. She turned, and there he was, younger, not bleeding yet. He leaned on the wall outside Bay 9, one arm across his stomach, She watched herself walk past him. He reached out. Her younger self didn't stop. She ran forward, called out. No one heard her. The version of her in the memory kept walking. The man fell, and the room twisted. She was back in Bay 9. He was gone, the bed empty, but her chest ached, and her hands were shaking. She'd always told herself she wasn't responsible, but deep down she'd known. You don't forget a man's eyes, not when he dies staring straight into them. Carol found her in the break room at 4 a.m. You okay? No. Carol sat down beside her. Then you're closer than anyone else who's ever seen him. Maya didn't answer. I saw him too, my second year here. Thought I could fix it, but I couldn't. Carol looked down at her hands. He doesn't need a doctor. Then what does he need? A witness. Later that morning, Maya left a note in Bay 9's drawer. She didn't sign it, just wrote, I see you. I'm sorry, you deserve better. She folded it and placed it under the pillow. The next night, Bay 9 remained empty. For the first time in a week, no alarms rang at 3:42 a.m. But a few nights later, David approached her again. You're not going to like this. He handed her the patient board printout. Bay 7 unassigned. Note. She knew. She left. Maya stared at it. What does it mean? David looked down the hallway, then back at her. It means the next one's coming. The neonatal intensive care unit smelled like plastic and warm milk. Soft beeps echoed through the dim room, each tone marking the heartbeat of a child barely weeks or days old. Most were premature. Some were recovering. A few were waiting to die, though no one said that out loud. Nurse Eliza Moreno had never worked pediatrics before, but this was her third rotation, and she'd seen enough blood and trauma to believe a room full of babies might be easier. She was wrong. Her first night was quiet. 12 cribs, 6 babies. 2 had parents sleeping in chairs. The rest were still under observation. Monitors tracked vitals and respiration. All were stable. All accounted for. Tanya, the older nurse on duty, had been there nearly 30 years. If you hear breathing that doesn't match any of the cribs, ignore it, she said with a tired smirk. It's just this floor. Sound travels weird up here. Eliza had chuckled politely, but even then, something in the air felt hollow. At 2:11 a.m., she walked her rounds. Soft lighting. Baby 3 was fussy. Baby 5 had spit up. Baby 9 was sleeping hard, fingers twitching. Eliza adjusted a blanket, noted vitals on her clipboard, and paused at crib 12. It was empty, unassigned. Sometimes the neonatal intensive care unit left extra beds in rotation in case of emergency deliveries. Crib 12 had a monitor still plugged in. ID tag slot was blank. No blanket, no pillow. But the monitor was on and pulsing. Heart rate, 122 BPM. O2, 98%. She blinked, unplugged it. The vitals stayed. She stared at the screen. Must be a feedback loop, she whispered, though she wasn't sure who she was trying to convince. Then baby 6 started crying, loud. Then baby 2, then 4, like a chain reaction of panic. Eliza ran to soothe them. It took nearly 15 minutes to settle the room again. She glanced back once. Crib 12's monitor was dark now. Flatline. No sound. The next night it happened again. Crib 12. Vitals active, but no baby. Eliza checked the assignment sheet. Nothing listed. She went to Tanya. Is someone testing equipment on crib 12? Tanya looked up from her crossword. Why? The monitor keeps activating. You're not the first to ask. It's a known glitch. Something about ghost signals from the nearby surgical floor. Surgical is 2 levels down. Tanya shrugged. I just write it off. You'll go crazy if you start chasing the weird stuff. Eliza didn't answer. That night, she unplugged crib 12's monitor completely. Still, vitals. Even worse, baby 7 turned in their sleep and reached one hand toward the empty crib beside them, like reaching for someone. Night 3. She came in early, asked the technician if anyone had checked the wiring in bed 12. He said there was nothing wrong with it. Monitor's fine, but yeah, it happens sometimes. What's it? He shrugged. Extra vitals, ghost pulse. It's probably a number from another crib bleeding over. Freaky stuff, but harmless. Is that your technical opinion? He smiled. Nurses have been asking about that crib for years. I just keep replacing the leads. At 3 a.m., Eliza stood by crib 12. The monitor showed heart rate 114 BPM O2, 96%, temp 98.6 degree, full vitals. She looked down at the crib. Empty, but the blanket had shifted, just slightly, like a weight had pressed into the middle of it. She stepped back. Then she whispered, "What's your name?" Nothing. Then the screen blinked. Just once. The heart rate rose by 2. Later, she checked the intake records. The neonatal intensive care unit had no record of any baby assigned to crib 12 in the last 2 weeks. She went further back. Still nothing. But when she opened the oldest digital folder, a scan of handwritten intake logs, she found a name. Baby boy, unnamed, time of birth, 2:11 a.m., time of death, 8:06 a.m. Date, March 3rd, 1998, crib 12 notes. Mother unstable, delivery unaccompanied, no ID, infant coded 3X, expired at 8:06, no next of kin, no body tag issued, digital record pending. No digital record was ever made. That night, crib 12's vitals returned. The heart rate now hovered near 80. Low. Eliza approached with a stethoscope. Her hands shook as she placed the bell onto the mattress. At first, nothing. Then, thump, a single heartbeat. Soft, wet, from inside the mattress. She yanked it back. Nothing underneath, but the sheet was warm. She turned to leave and saw something move on the monitor. Not numbers, a name. Hello! Then it blinked away. She backed out of the room, eyes wide, mouth dry. Behind her, the other infants began to cry again, all at once, all facing crib 12. The next night, Eliza brought a blanket, a real one, soft cotton, white with blue clouds. She folded it carefully and placed it into crib 12 just after 1:01 a.m., when the monitors first blinked to life again. Heart rate 110 BPM, temp 98.2 degrees Fahrenheit, O2 97%. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions. She just stood beside the crib and watched. The blanket dented, very slowly, like something small was resting inside. No cries, just presence. She stepped back, didn't touch the monitor, didn't log it. But when she turned to check the rest of the room, she noticed the change. Every infant was asleep, peacefully, no restlessness, no sudden cries, not even twitching. For the first time in 3 nights, the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU, was calm. At 2:13 a.m., the security feed glitched. Eliza saw it out of the corner of her eye. The little monitor by the nurse's station, always recording, always boring. It stuttered, then showed crib 12. But it was no longer empty. Just for a moment, a single frame, she saw a figure standing beside the crib. A woman, pale, wearing a hospital gown, hair soaked like she'd just come in from rain. She stood over the crib with both hands pressed gently on either side of the railing, looking down. Then, frame gone, back to normal, empty again. Eliza rewound the feed. The frame was gone. She printed the 1998 log entry, baby boy, unnamed, born 2:11 a.m., passed at 8:06. She found a few more handwritten pages nearby. One from a nurse's note. Infant never made noise, didn't cry once, but he opened his eyes before he passed, looked right at me. I thought I heard something. Could have been my imagination. Mother was admitted 3 hours later. Emergency psych hold, screaming that someone took her baby. She said he wasn't dead, just lost. The name on the bottom, T. Green, Tanya. At her break, Eliza confronted her in the supply room. You were here in '98. Tanya didn't look up from her clipboard. I've been here a long time. You wrote the notes on baby 13. Don't call him that. That's what the techs call him. Tanya slammed the clipboard down. I know what they call him, and I know what he is. What is he? Tanya looked at her finally, and her voice was low, no longer dismissive. He was a baby born at the wrong time, to the wrong mother. On a night the hospital was understaffed and the power failed mid-resuscitation. She took a breath. They never entered his file digitally, never tagged the body, never buried him. Then where is he? Tanya hesitated, then said quietly, "Still waiting." That night, Eliza placed the blanket again, then brought a bottle of formula just in case. The monitor lit up before she reached the crib. Heart rate, 122, O2 98. She whispered, "I'm sorry it took so long." The light above crib 12 flickered softly, like someone had sighed. At 3:08 a.m., the alarms began. All 12 babies in the ward triggered at once. Heart rates jumping, oxygen dipping, movement sensors lighting up red. Eliza panicked, ran crib to crib. All the infants were awake, but none of them were in distress. They were looking toward crib 12, every single one of them, eyes wide, not scared, focused, watching something. Then very slowly, the alarm lights died one by one, all except crib 12. She turned. The blanket was gone, neatly folded, placed outside the railing. The formula bottle was empty, and the monitor read, "Thank you." She unplugged it. The screen stayed lit, then scrolled. "You see me." Eliza ran the security feed the next morning. No glitches this time, but one camera had gone dark for 6 full minutes. Just black screen. During that window, crib 12's monitor showed 3 separate vital sets, as if 3 heartbeats had occurred at once. The neonatal intensive care unit had been locked down the whole night. No one came in, no one left, except one door log did trigger, side stairwell exit, time 3:42 a.m., access unauthorized. She brought the incident to administration. They said it was a glitch. She asked about the 1998 logs. They said old patient files had been purged under policy. She asked to search the sub-basement. They said absolutely not. Tanya found her later. "You're doing too much," she said. "He just wants to be seen. That's all. He doesn't want to be found. He already is." Eliza said nothing, but she started wearing a name badge that said Eliza and Baby 13 on night shift, just in case he needed to know he mattered. That night, crib 12 didn't light up, and the rest of the ward, silent, still, peaceful. Eliza sat beside the crib anyway, and whispered lullabies into the dark. Eliza kept coming in early. Crib 12 stayed dark for 4 nights straight. The monitors never blinked again. The other infants were stable. No cries after midnight. No sudden alarms. Everything looked fixed. But something didn't sit right. Peace wasn't the same as resolution, and silence wasn't always safety. She went digging, not in the hospital system. Admin had locked her out of anything pre-2000. She went to county records, told them she was doing a genealogy project. The clerk raised an eyebrow but gave her access to old microfiche and mortuary reports. It took hours. Her eyes ached, but she found it. A single hand-scrawled report from March 3rd, 1998. Infant, male, no name. Time of death, 8:06 a.m. Pronounced by Dr. Levinson. Body release, not logged. Parent, unknown, undocumented mother. Burial order, none filed. Notes, mother in psychiatric evaluation. Case unresolved. Infant not transferred to county morgue. Remains listed as temp hold pending status update. Tag number 3281. She wrote it down. Tag number 3281. She returned to the hospital that night. Tanya found her in the stairwell. "You're not letting this go, are you?" Eliza shook her head. "Where do they put temporary holds?" Tanya was quiet for a long time, then sighed. "The old records wing, sub-basement. It was used for overflow storage before the remodel. It's locked." "I know." Tanya gave her the key, a real key, brass, cold. "Don't stay long," she said. "It remembers who visits." The door groaned like it hadn't been opened in years. The hallway beyond was narrow, lined with rusted file cabinets and racks of gurneys draped in plastic. Her flashlight flickered. The air smelled like time, and dust, and disinfectant that had long since stopped working. She walked past shelves stacked with old medical supplies, a wheelchair missing one wheel, and something that looked like an incubator with a shattered lid. Then she saw them, steel drawers, like morgue slots, each labeled. She ran her fingers across until she found it. 3281. She hesitated, then pulled. Inside was a body bag, Small, child-sized. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I see you." And the bag shivered. She didn't scream. She wanted to, but something told her, don't. Instead, she reached in, just enough to find the tag. It was still attached. Plastic, yellowed. It read, "Infant male, March 3rd, 1998. Time of death, 8:06 a.m. Crib 12. Underneath it, handwritten in faded red ink, "Do not release, do not bury, unresolved." She swallowed, hard. Then she whispered, "Do you want to go home?" That night, she logged an anonymous burial request with a private funeral home 3 towns over. Tanya signed off as witness. They didn't ask questions, didn't require a name, just a payment and a release form. Eliza paid in cash. The morning of the burial, she visited the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU, and crib 12 one last time. She placed the folded cloud blanket on the mattress. Beside it, a card. Inside it read, "You were here. You were real. You were not a mistake." The monitor did not blink. But just as she turned to leave, all the other monitors in the room blinked once, in perfect unison. No alarms, no vitals. Just one synchronized pulse of soft light. Then nothing. At the burial, she didn't stay long. The sky was overcast. The patch of grass was modest, flanked by saplings. The tiny coffin looked too small to be heavy, but the air felt different. Not lighter, but clearer, like something had finally exhaled. She didn't talk about it again. Not to Tanya, not to Carol, not to the techs or the residents. She worked 4 more months in the NICU before rotating out. She never saw crib 12 light up again, but she left the blanket there anyway, just in case. Years later, after a night shift in a different wing, she passed through the NICU again. Old habit. The room had been remodeled. New layout, new floors. Cribs all repositioned. But in the far corner, under a fresh new number, crib 19 now, there sat a folded blanket, white, with blue clouds. Erica's first solo night shift started like most nights in Northwood General. Too quiet for a building that held so much death. The hallway lights were that kind of flicker white that made your eyes feel dusty. The floors always felt slightly wet, even when they were clean. Everything smelled like lemon antiseptic and something else. Something old. She had been working the floor for 2 weeks, mostly shadowing other nurses, filling charts, doing blood pressure rounds. But tonight, she was on her own. Ward B recovery and long-term observation. Erica didn't mind night shifts. They kept her moving, gave her less time to think. Since her mom passed, silence felt like the worst kind of noise. By 1:37 a.m., all her patients were stable. 8 rooms, 7 were asleep. One, Mr. Allard in 520, was still awake, quietly watching game shows with the volume barely audible. Erica leaned back at the nurse's station, rubbing her temples. The fluorescent hum was like a bug just behind her eye. She glanced down the hallway, long, straight, slightly curved to the left at the end. All the doors were closed. No movement. Then the phone rang. Just one sharp burp. No ringtone, no extension. The landline at the desk had a digital readout. Green numbers on a black strip. Calling room 616. Erica stared at it. That didn't make sense. There was no room 616 on this floor. She picked up the receiver. "Recovery desk, this is Erica." A pause, then, "Can someone help me, please?" A woman's voice. Faint, steady, tired. Erica sat forward. "I'm sorry. What room are you calling from?" Another pause. "It's very dark in here. Ma'am, I don't have a 616 on this floor. Can you describe where you are?" Silence. Then the line went dead. She checked the directory. No 616, not on any floor. She pulled up the digital board. Nothing above 610 existed in the modern records. Erica stood slowly and walked to the security phone behind the desk. She dialed down to Dennis, the overnight security guard. He'd been there for 20 years and smelled like burnt coffee and cinnamon gum. "Northwood Security," he answered. "Hey, Dennis. Question. Do we have a room 6116 somewhere?" Dead pause. "Who told you that?" "No one. I just got a call saying it was from 616. Another pause. Longer. "You're on B floor, right?" "Yeah." Lock your desk phone. What? Unplug it. Hang up. Don't answer again if it rings. Dennis, what the hell is... I'll come up. He hung up. Erica did not unplug the phone. She waited. And at 1:44 a.m., it rang again. Same number. Calling, room 616. She stared at the receiver. Her hand hovered. Then she picked it up. Recovery desk. No greeting. Just soft breathing. Then the voice. You were there when she died. Erica's heart froze. Who is this? Tell her I'm sorry I forgot her face. The line went dead. She stared at the wall for a long time before realizing her hands were shaking. Dennis arrived 5 minutes later. He was in his usual oversized jacket, radio clipped to his belt, flashlight in hand. I told you not to answer it, he said. I'm sorry, what is this? Who's doing this? No one, he said. That's the problem. He sat down and motioned her closer. Room 616 used to exist. Top floor, long-term psych, and palliative. There was a fire, electrical. Patients couldn't get out. 6 people died in that wing, including a nurse. Erica swallowed. And they never rebuilt it? They sealed it. Floor doesn't even have elevator access now. But once every few years, someone gets a call from 616. She said nothing. They say it always happens when someone on staff has grief. Just under the surface. Something unresolved. He looked at her more gently now. You lost someone, didn't you? Erica blinked hard. My mom, a few months ago. Dennis nodded like that made sense. They'll try to talk to you, he said. They'll use her voice if they think it'll keep you listening. She didn't say anything. I'm going up, he added, just to check the panel. You said it's sealed. Doesn't mean it's empty. Dennis took the staff elevator with his master badge. Erica remained at the station, listening to the lights buzz. She stared at the phone. It stayed silent until 2:06 a.m. 2:06 a.m. The phone rang, calling. Room 616. Erica stood frozen, staring at the green display. The hallway felt tighter somehow, like the walls had shifted in closer. She picked up the receiver with trembling fingers. She didn't speak. The voice came through anyway, soft, closer than before. I know why you stayed behind. A silence, heavy and slow. You felt guilty. Erica swallowed hard. Who are you? I remember the machines, the blue curtain. You held her hand after she went. Erica felt like someone had dropped ice into her chest. Her mother's last night. She hadn't told anyone she was there. Not even the nurse who clocked out before her. She had sat beside the bed long after visiting hours ended, whispering apologies into her mother's still hands. I never told anyone that, she whispered. The voice smiled through the line. I know. Then the call ended. She stood there in the quiet, pulse throbbing in her ears. She thought about unplugging the phone, leaving the floor, quitting. But instead, she stood up and walked to the elevator. The hospital had 5 official floors. The elevator had buttons for 6, always had. But the 6th didn't light up. It was dead space. No access. She pressed it anyway. To her surprise, it lit. 6. The doors closed. The elevator shuddered and began to rise. Floor 6 was colder. The lights overhead flickered. Not broken, but dim, like they were powered by a different circuit. The doors opened to a hallway that hadn't been walked in years. Dust, wallpaper peeling, old signage faded into the paint. Rooms 601 to 620. Quiet. Observation in progress. The air smelled faintly of smoke and old fabric, of something that once burned and never got put out completely. She stepped into the hallway. The elevator doors closed behind her. She passed room 608, then 610, then 614. Room 616 was halfway down, left side. The door was open just enough for a sliver of light to spill out. She stood in front of it. Listened. Inside, soft humming. Same melody from the phone. She pushed the door slowly. The room was fully intact. A metal-framed hospital bed, heart monitor, IV pole, curtains drawn around the bed, lights off except for a faint glow from the call button. A chair beside the bed. Empty. Erica stepped in. The door swung closed behind her. She froze, then pulled back the curtain. The bed was made, but occupied. A body lay beneath the sheet, fully covered. No ID tag, no clipboard. Erica took a step back. Then the monitor beeped. Once, then flatlined. She turned to run and found someone standing in the doorway. Dennis, but not. His uniform was too clean, his flashlight too polished. His skin looked tight, waxy, like something dressed up as him, but didn't quite know how skin was supposed to sit on a face. "Don't go," he said. "Dennis?" He tilted his head. "You can stay this time." Erica backed away. "I need to leave." He stepped forward. "You don't. You never did. You've always been here." She ran. The hallway had changed. It wasn't ruined anymore. Now it was active, lit, clean. Nurses passed by, silent, blurred, moving like shadows underwater. She passed room 612. Inside was herself standing over a body, her mother, watching her flatline, frozen. She kept running until the elevator doors appeared. She slammed the button, turned. Dennis was gone. The hallway behind her was empty. The elevator dinged. Back on the first floor, everything was the same. She staggered back to the nurse's station, pale, shaking. Dennis sat there, real Dennis, coffee in hand. He looked up. "Where the hell'd you go?" I went up. 6th floor." He blinked. "Erica, I told you." "I saw it. It was all still there. The room, my mom." Dennis set his coffee down gently. "There is no 6th floor access. I just tried. My badge won't work." She stared at him. "You're saying I imagined all that?" He hesitated. "No," he said. "I'm saying that floor doesn't need you to open it." At 4:11 a.m., the phone rang one last time. She answered without checking the number. The voice was quiet now, almost tender. "You don't have to be afraid of forgetting her. That's not what this place wants." Erica closed her eyes. "She was scared. The night she died. She didn't know I was there." The voice paused. "She did." Then, click. In the morning, Erica walked out into the sun. It was brighter than she expected. Blinding. Warm. Her shift was over. But she wasn't sure anything was finished. Behind her on the 6th floor, room 616 sat quiet. For now, quiet.